Hey everyone, we are coming together today for part 2 of the video series on our capital S limiting stories. So last week what we did was examined what a story is and how it could be affecting our lives, and we started to actually identify those. So last week I had you grabbing a pen and a piece of paper and writing down the phrases that normally stories start with. So I have to, I should, I always, I never, I can't, I'm not. And again, not all encompassing, but those are usually what stories start with. And those are just those internal narratives, internal beliefs that we have. Sometimes we are aware, sometimes we're not, but they're really kind of running our lives, right? We're making decisions and assumptions and living our lives based on these stories. So we work to identify those so that we could come to this next step in the process and kind of examine why those are there and what we've been getting from them, in hopes that that will take us to the next step, which will be in next week's video about reframing those stories. And the big goal here is that identifying these stories is a way for us to identify some possible barriers that we have towards getting to that place where we're living red, where we're living that passionate, engaged, connected, vibrant, and joyful life that we want. So I want you to grab the paper from last week and look at the sheet that you have that identifies the stories that you have personally. And this week, what we're going to do is we are going to examine the rewards that we've been getting from those stories. And when I say rewards, I mean false rewards. So really, it feels like a reward. And a reward is usually something that gives us control, makes us feel safe. It's protecting us in some way. But it's a false reward because what we really want is on the other side of that. We want to feel joyful and vibrant and passionate and excited and engaged in our lives. But we have this barrier, this limiting story, this limiting belief that gives us some type of reward. So it's giving us some type of control or safety or security, but it's not giving us what we really want, which is on the other side, which is that vibrant, joyful, passionate life. So what I want you to do today is I want you to really take a look at each statement that you wrote down. And I want you to see what is the reward that you've been getting from having that belief. So for example, last week we talked about a limiting story example of I'm not creative. Now, if that was a belief that you had and you wanted to see what the reward was, some of the things you might think about is, so what am I getting by believing that I'm not creative? Well, maybe you're getting the reward of not ever trying something and finding out that maybe you're not great at it. So, last week we said, maybe my underlying, desire is to paint, but I'm telling myself I'm not creative, so I'm not even trying. So the false reward would be that I have that safety and security of not knowing if I'm good enough or not knowing if I'm good at all. I don't want to say good enough because, art and being creative is something that you can just do for fun. You don't necessarily, have to be able to paint a flower that looks really realistic and like a flower, but it could just be fun to actually paint the flower, to try and to experiment. And even if it doesn't come out good, you enjoy the process. So what I'm saying is that not trying and saying I'm not creative, you maybe don't want to know. Like maybe you've always dreamed of being this really great painter and being able to create the works that you appreciate so much. And you don't want to find out if that's true or not. Maybe you're not that great at painting and you don't want to see that. So you don't have to try if you have that limiting belief of I'm not creative. Or maybe it's the safety of not wanting other people to see your work. So you don't want anyone to see what you create. It feels vulnerable and you feel insecure about it. So telling yourself, well, I'm not creative. Why even bother? Keeps you safe from having other people see your work. So those are just examples of a reason why you have that belief, or maybe why you've been telling yourself that, because it's some type of protection, some type of control. The other example that we had from last week. So I always have to put my family's needs before mine. So what are the rewards of doing that? Why would you have that belief? So maybe the reward is that it feels, really good to be needed. You like to be needed. It feels like you have a place in the family when you're somebody that's helping people fulfill their needs. So maybe that's the type of reward you're getting, that you like that feeling, and feel that maybe without that, will you still be a part of the family? So if people aren't needing you to help them with their needs, like how do you fit into the bigger picture? So maybe it's a security about your place, you're feeling loved within your family. And without that, it feels scary. What would be there if you are incorporating some of your needs and not always putting their needs first? It could also be that you don't know what you want. Like you have this feeling of, you want this vibrant, joyful, excited, engaged life, but you don't know how to get there. So instead of kind of exploring and diving in, because it's scary, it's unknown, you don't know what's there, you don't know what you want, putting everyone else's needs before yours feels more secure. You feel comfortable doing that, you know how to do that, and it kind of is like a distraction, right? So you feel that fulfillment of helping everyone else in your family, and you kind of get distracted from that place, that urge that you have inside of you that you don't know what to do about. So it's giving you that false reward of, feeling fulfilled by fulfilling other people's needs, but you don't have to look at that place where you feel this kind of desire and urge for something else, but you don't know what, and that's uncomfortable. So distracting yourself feels better than kind of diving in and examining that. So that's what I mean about examining the false rewards. Like, what is underneath? Why do you have that belief? Like, it's there for a reason. And like I said, it's usually there as some type of control, safety, security, and kind of even sometimes like a distraction from something else. So really diving in, taking a look at each statement that you wrote down and seeing, what has this statement given you? What has it been there doing for you? And it's been there, for a reason that's been helping you. But like we said before, it's a false reward, right? What you really want is on the other side. So you need to kind of examine it, see why it's there, appreciate what it's been doing for you. But what we're going to do next week is we're going to take that story, now that we know why it's there, we've identified it, we know why it's there, now we can reframe it. And reframing is where that open possibility comes in. Gives us a little bit more flexibility, freedom, and movement on the other side, so that we can really, make this not a barrier anymore. And we can get to that other side of feeling that live red life that we want. So what I want you to do is today, so I want you to get that piece of paper, and I want you to do the activity of going through each statement and seeing what you've been giving yourself with that. There's been a reward there. There's some reason you have it. And we need to acknowledge that and appreciate it, because that's going to show us what's underneath, why it's been there, what's underneath, what are you afraid of, what have you been avoiding, being distracted from, what have you been needing. Sometimes it can identify that need, like with that example of needing to feel like you belong and feel like you're needed, in that example of putting your family's needs first. And we can use all of that information to then reframe our story and open up the possibilities rather than having this barrier there. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you through this process. It can be a difficult part of the process, is kind of identifying those false rewards. So please reach out to me. You can find me, I have contact information on my website. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Or if you are watching this video because you are on my newsletter, just hit reply. I am happy to help you through this process. And if you're not in my newsletter, you can definitely sign up. Just go to shelivesred.com and sign up for my Live Red letters. They go out weekly, and lots of good nuggets in there to help you on your Live Red journey. So that is it for this week. So again, do it now. Grab that pen and paper that you were working on from last week and try to identify those false rewards. And then next week, our video is going to focus on reframing those limiting stories so that they're no longer that barrier to your Live Red life. All right, everyone, until next week, see you later.